This book is called Matisse's Garden. One day, the artist Henri Matisse cut a small bird from a piece of white paper. It was a simple shape, but he liked the way it looked and didn't want to throw it out. So he pinned it on the wall of his apartment to cover up a stain. The bird seemed lonely by itself, so Matisse cut out more shapes, which joined the bird on the wall. As he cut shape after shape from the white paper, he thought about a trip he had taken many years before to the island of Tahiti. The shapes looked like the birds, fish, and seaweed he had seen there. As his scissors glided through the paper, he thought about how a bird must feel when it flies. As he cut, Matisse felt like he too was flying. Soon his walls were covered with plant and animal shapes. They captured the feeling of soaring and the sensation of swimming, but they didn't convey the bright blue of the sky or the deep blue of the sea. So he made new work, this time pinning his white forms to sheets painted azure and marine blue. When he saw how the color brought his shapes to life, he asked his assistants to paint sheets of paper in a range of shades, from vermilion to lemon to violet. Instead of using only white paper, he decided he would make his shapes by cutting directly into color. He tried a pink leaf against a background of orange and a green leaf against a background of black. He cut leaves of other hues and set them against backgrounds of every shade, experimenting with different harmonies and contrasts, the way the colors played with and against each other. What counts most with colors are relationships, Matisse thought. Matisse cut and cut. The leftover paper fell to the floor. He realized that every shape he cut created another shape. Instead of throwing away the leftover pieces, he added them to the composition. They weren't leftovers at all. Sometimes the shapes he cut were simple, like squares. But when he arranged them in just the right way, they took flight like a swarm of bees. He composed his shapes to show familiar scenes, like a woman in a room with a vase of flowers. And he turned familiar objects into simple forms, which he then composed into patterns. His cutouts started very small, and they got larger and then larger, as large as a wall. Until they stretched across the walls of his studio, curving around corners and covering doors. Matisse realized happily, I have made a little garden around me where I can walk. And for his garden, Matisse cut a small bird from a piece of blue paper. The end.